you?
Very good. How are you doing, Pete?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Yeah.
Appreciate you having
Uh,
me on your channel.
well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. I'll just do a little check to see if we are live. I believe we are. You're in like nice sunny Florida, right?
Yeah, it's raining right now, but it's pretty warm in the 60s. I think it's going to go up to the 70s today. Oh wait, you
It's
you don't you use Celsius, but
yeah. Yeah. I was like, what? What are these things he said? It's yeah. It's permanently raining where I am. So yeah, that's rain sounds normal. Rain sounds normal. I've not seen the sun in a while. Good couple of months.
well, your channel has been around longer than mine, isn't that so?
Well, my channel has been around since 2017.
Okay, yeah, I
So
started in 2019. So yeah.
2019. I mean, still, it's kind of a long time on YouTube. I mean, nearly 10 years. Nearly 10 years. That's a long. That's a
Wow.
long
Yeah.
YouTube
One
time.
more
I
year to
think.
go. You've got a
One more year to
decade.
go. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, which is it's surreal, very surreal. It feels like it's been about 2 weeks. It's just flown by,
Yeah, yeah.
as life often does. Yeah,
Does your brother still do his channel?
he does. We both. So yeah, we've got a few channels. We've got a few channels. We've got History of the Earth that we do together. He now does History of the Universe and History of Humankind. So he's got these two additional channels.
Wow. Okay.
And then we've both got Voices of the Past as well, which I mean that's him now. I started it and he now does it. And that's kind of like dramatic retellings of primary sources from history. So it's just the historical sources basically word for word.
Mhm.
Um yeah, and then the main channel History Time and then God, I've just done it's I don't know. I don't know why I do this to myself.
You're like, I'm gonna make another channel.
Yeah, I know it's mad. I've stopped now. Anyway, I've stopped now. I've only got really, and to be honest, I've got sort of three channels. It's already too many channels.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. But you've kind of gone because I remember you saying one point last time I spoke to you actually, which was probably about 4 years ago now, which is crazy. You were toying with the idea of having extra channels, but you decided to just go all in on
I,
the
I
one
still
channel,
think
which
about it,
you still,
because
yeah,
I have different series on my channel,
yeah,
and uh, I feel like people subscribe for one particular part of my channel, but not for the other parts. And I'm wondering if it harms the other series. And like for example, some people love my videos debunking the pseudo history and all of that. Uh, and then when I put out a travel video, they're like, oh, God, I was kind of hoping for the debunking, or something like that. And I'm wondering if if I had in separate channels originally, if they would have grown faster. So I still think about like, oh, maybe I should put my travel videos on a separate channel. Uh, but I don't know if it will do anything. And then when I poll my audience, they're like, no, no, keep everything here. And so that's why I
it's
have.
the eternal debate. Yeah, I have similar conundrums as well because now I've got a second history channel which is just my name, and I keep putting things on there, and I think, hang on, I could have just put that on the main channel, and then it's sort of like vice
Yeah.
versa, and there's just this constant dilemma. Yeah, but I mean, the videos are out there. That's the main thing. The
Hmm.
videos are out there. Your output is prolific. How many you've done? Like hundreds upon hundreds of videos.
Well, it's in the hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when you think about it, if you put one out, I shoot for one a week. Sometimes I don't get one out. But if there's 52 weeks in a year, and I've done it since 2019, that's going to be a few
it's
hundred
a lot.
videos.
It's a lot. Yeah, yeah. See, one a week is huge. That is huge.
Yeah.
I don't think
But
I've
yours
ever
are
managed one
yours
a
are
week.
mammoth, epic kind of
They're big.
videos.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it requires a lot of. I know because I actually helped write one for you.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
And they're
That's one
like,
of my
you're like, I
favorite.
want to do a history of the Maya from beginning to end.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything.
All of it.
Yeah,
That's
all of
one of my favorites still.
it.
I still really like that one. I'm really, really happy with that one. Yeah, because I just visited Mexico as well for the first time and just,
I was
oh,
there in November. Yeah, great,
oh
isn't it?
man.
Yeah,
You just did a tour, I think.
I did a tour there. Yeah, in
Yeah,
in central Mexico,
it looked like an
and
incredible tour. You did the Olmecs and everything.
Olmecs, Maya, Zapotecs, Teotihuacan, yeah, Veracruz culture. It was really fun. Yeah,
The whole shebang. Yeah, yeah. So how did it go? Was that you've guided a few tours, I think now, is that right?
I've only done two so far, and I've got a third one coming up. I've done Egypt, Upper Egypt specifically. I did Mexico, Central Mexico, and now we're taking people for an Italy/Sardinia tour. Well, Sardinia is technically in Italy, um, and that's in May. And then I haven't announced it yet, but we're gonna do one in India in November.
Oh, oh man. Oh, that'll be so good. That'll
Yeah,
be
and
so
then
good.
next May 2027, I'm planning a China Silk Road tour.
So good. So good. India in particular, that's really intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I guess, well, you'll be doing the whole shebang, I suppose, but it's just that, there's so
well,
many interesting
the
elements.
country is so large. I had to just pick a piece, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm focusing mainly on all these cool cave temples and things like that. Um, and actually, I had originally had in there the Indus Valley civilization, but the tour company was like, "This is too much. You've got too much in here. We got to cut something." And because the Harappan stuff is not spectacular, they thought the cave temples go with that. That's what people want to see, some spectacular stuff. And going to the archaeological site, that's great, but there's not a whole lot to see. So I'm like, okay. So I reluctantly had to cut the Harappan civilization, but
India is such a gigantic country, isn't it?
it's huge.
Where
Yeah,
are
I
these
could do
cave
probably like
temples?
5 or 6 tours there and have completely different, things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Where
it
are the
doesn't get a
cave
lot of coverage
temples?
in the West, so I thought it'd be great to take people there.
Where are the cave temples that you're looking at?
So they're mainly we're talking about we're going to start in Mumbai. Basically, it's all from there to the direct east. So there's this whole area in there. And we're going to include like places like Sanchi and things like that, where you have the stupas that go back to the Mauryan period and things like that.
Oh, Mauryan
We've got
period.
Gupta
Okay.
temples
Yeah,
and
yeah. Now we're talking.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and we're going to go
Amazing.
to
Amazing.
some caves as well, like the Bhimbetka caves, where there's all kinds of uh, petroglyphs in there, and yeah, so all kinds of cool things. And
That's
then Italy,
proper India.
Sardinia, I was a little surprised, but I think maybe people in the West, they're already so used to Italy. They were more interested in the Sardinia stuff than they were in the Roman stuff, which is kind of unusual. I thought, well, people love Rome, but maybe because they've done Rome to death, I don't know, but they really want to go to Sardinia. So
Well, the Nuragic civilization, there's a lot going
yeah,
on in
yeah,
Sardinia.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, exciting times. Exciting times. Yeah. Um, yeah, and your main channel's doing really good. It's great to see just the sheer quantity of videos coming out. It's always good. It's always good. It's always nice to see people who are sane or relatively
It's, I,
sane. Um,
you know, I want to say it's all from the bottom of my heart, but of course, I realize that the more videos I put out, the more money I can make. So that's why I do it. Just trying to stay
true.
alive. This is my full-time
Yeah.
job.
Of
So
course. Of course. Of
yeah,
course. Of course. But also, there's a lot of misinformation out there to sort of
yeah,
try and raise attention to and combat.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just in a discussion today on social media about it. Just really all about semantics, and I don't know why. This is an interesting thing that has come out, and that is um, people really, there are people who really want to criticize archaeologists for saying civilization began 6,000 years ago. And they're like, it was earlier, it was earlier. But, well, first of all, archaeologists don't really use the word civilization that much anymore
Yeah.
because what does it mean? It can mean
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Um, but they want to say they're wrong about it, but they also want to redefine the word. So that, in other words, we want to say archaeologists are wrong about when civilization began, but we also want to redefine civilization to something other than what they meant when they said it, which is like doesn't make any sense. But why are they so hung up on the word when they can use so many other different words to describe what they're talking about? If you want to talk about, cities, talk about cities. If you want to talk about, towns, villages, settlements, you want to talk about cultures, whatever, just describe what you're talking about. But they want to use the word civilization. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Civilization. It's one of those terms that you can use it in a popular history
Yeah,
documentary, but it's not a thing that's used in the literature. It's just because it's one of the. It can literally mean anything.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's something that looks cool. That's
yeah,
basically what
yeah.
it
It's
is.
like, yeah. So, but I think I'm starting to suspect it may be because um, it's been used so much in their literature, in the pseudo archaeology literature, like civilization is much older and all of this, that they're kind of
Yeah.
stuck with it, and that's why they're hung up on that word.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah. Well, I've invited you here anyway to discuss 10 of our, well, 10 figures who we think are interesting from history. You've come up
Yes,
with
and
five.
I mean, how can you pick 10, right?
I know,
Actually, I
it's,
only picked five, and you picked five.
we've got
Uh,
five each. We've got
yeah,
five each.
but there are the people that everyone knows about, and there are the people that maybe not a lot of people know about. So that's kind of what I went with mine is like people that you don't hear about enough out there. Yours are actually two. We didn't just pick like Julius Caesar, or something.
Yeah, of course, of
uh,
course. Yeah, yeah, we've gone for slightly obscure figures. I mean, to be honest, I don't think mine are that obscure, really, if you're a history buff. However, I don't know. It depends on your level of
yeah,
nerdery.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I suppose without further ado, we can begin. We're beginning nowhere near the beginning of civilization in inverted commas. We're beginning in the third millennium BC, which yeah is well into things. Things are already going. Things are already happening. Agriculture's been going for a long time. Urbanism's been going for a long time. But I wanted to discuss. I wanted to pick somebody who kind of raises questions about prehistory and about who made what. Because I've gone with someone who, to be honest, there's not a huge amount of information on this guy. It's mostly in the thousands of years after his death that information is. We can come by information on him because he became a really important figure after he died. He was actually deified and became a god after his death. But without further ado, here he is. I'm going to change my screen
Okay.
so we can look at this guy.
Everybody's in suspense.
I know, so much suspense. Here we go. I'm going to just massively disappoint everybody. This is going to be really funny. Right. Here he is. This is Imhotep from the film The Mummy.
An actual photograph.
An
Wow.
actual photograph from the third millennium BC. But jokes aside, Imhotep, who shares the same name as the mummy in the film, was a real person.
Yeah.
This is a depiction of him many hundreds of years after his death. I think this is from the first millennium BCE, so this is like nearly 1,500 years after the guy's death. But we know he existed. We know he
Are there?
existed.
I could be wrong on this, but I thought there may have been something more contemporary showing him.
Oh, to be honest, David, there may well be. What I do know is that there are some hieroglyphic inscriptions here at the base of the stepped pyramid of Chosa, who is third dynasty
Yeah.
pharaoh, and he's kind of the first, well, one of the first, if not the first, pyramid builders. But basically, the idea is Imhotep may have been the guy who really did the work to make this pyramid happen.
Yeah. Or at least the designing. Yeah.
At least the designing, yeah, exactly. Because he's an engineer for sure. In the years after his death, he gets elevated to be kind of like a god of medicine as well. He's this great physician, as well as being an engineer. He's kind of seen as this polymath Renaissance man. Really, he can do everything essentially. And it's hard to get to the actual man himself because there's all this myth and storytelling that comes about.
Yeah.
For,
He
2,000 years after
evolves
him.
over time, doesn't
He
he?
evolves over time, yeah, absolutely. But surely, like he's got to have been an interesting guy. He was the vizier of the pharaoh Chosa. He was given some sort of outrage. I can't remember what it is, but he's given an outrageous title where he's kind of like almost equal to the pharaoh. He's at the very top of society. He may well have been the brother of the pharaoh, or he might have just been like a really, really good friend. But he certainly given a lot of sort of high-ranking responsibilities in the realm,
Mm-hmm.
and he may well have designed this, which is crazy. This is the
Yeah.
first pyramid, really. Before this, it's all, as you know well, it's all sort of mastaba tombs,
Yeah. Yeah. This
and
is the
then in one generation it becomes this, which is
and also they use
mad.
stone, I think, instead of mud bricks for the first
That's
time.
right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He's credited as being possibly the first sort of first guy who came up with the idea of using stone for these pyramids.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
it's still there after all this
Still there,
time. I
still
got
there.
to
And
visit
this
there.
is
Did you get to go there?
I did, I did, I did, I did. This was one of my favourite places actually because it's sort of less people there.
Yeah.
The Great Pyramid obviously incredible, but so many people, so many crowds. You go to the Step Pyramid, you can almost have it to yourself.
Yeah. When I went too, also it wasn't that crowded.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, and you can go inside as well.
from what I understand, there are some medical texts from the Middle Kingdom that are attributed to Imhotep, and may or may not be by him because we can't really
Hmm.
tell. Um, but I mean, Middle Kingdom is not that much farther. It's a few centuries, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah,
relatively
yeah, yeah, yeah.
speaking, it's not that much in the future.
No, it's
Um,
not. It's not. It's not. And I mean,
so he could
that's
have
one of
been
the
a doctor,
reasons.
you're right? He could have been a physician as well as
Could
an
have been.
architect and a
Could
vizier.
have been. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, he was interested in science, and well, for lack of a better word, science, and he was interested in the world around him, and he was interested in making things, and yeah, it's. I like to think of him as being like a Leonardo da Vinci sort of guy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then,
Um,
much later, he becomes deified and associated with Thoth, um, Jehuti, I guess is the real Egyptian name, Thoth, and then also associated even later with Hermes when the Greeks came. And then he really is larger than life, but he gets
Love
kind
it,
of merged with Thoth, as far as I recall.
love it.
Probably once you get into the New Kingdom, at least.
I was reading about him being merged with Asclepius as well to
Oh
become this
yes,
sort of
Asclepius.
like
Yeah, that's the
deity of
doctor part of
medicine.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they loved merging people together in the ancient world, didn't they? And merging people with
The
gods
yeah,
and
in Egypt, generally speaking, the farther back in time you go, the more gods there are, and as you go forward in time, the fewer gods there are, because they kept merging them, and that has a lot to do with the fact that people were more isolated in the old days, and so they had their more local gods. But then, as they, you know, communication gets better, and people start sharing ideas, then they're like, oh, this god's like this god, and we might as well just make him the one, and they end up merging a lot of them so that, like a god of whatever, let's say a god of crops or whatever in one area becomes merged with the same god of crops in another area, but, they become one. And so,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
You'd have a local god of your local spring, and then
Hmm.
eventually that god would become associated with the overarching water goddess or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, 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 yeah. Same sort of thing happened in Celtic Britain when the Romans arrived. They sort of
Uh-huh.
synchronized
Yeah.
all
Even
of
Roman and
all the
Greek gods
local.
got merged,
That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I had what was my other point? I was going to say something else about Imhotep. I can't remember what it was. What else was it? Um,
There's
no dead air. No dead air.
yeah, no doubt. But I know there are theories out there that well, I don't remember who, but that Imhotep, he's mentioned um in the famine stela, as I recall. Is it the famine stela? Uh,
At the end of the Old Kingdom.
no, this is no, famine stela is from like Ptolemaic times or something. Yeah,
Oh right.
Ptolemaic
Okay.
times.
Yeah.
And I got to visit the famine stela. Okay, it's coming back to me now.
Oh.
The
Oh,
famine stela
nice.
is talking about a famine of 7 years in the time of Djoser. Now it's legend because obviously we have no contemporary records of this. But the famine,
Yeah.
it's probably made up because it's mainly about appealing to um, the god of the Nile. Mm, I it's right on the tip of my tongue. Okay, his name will come to me. But anyway, uh, 7 years of famine in the time of Djoser, and it was Imhotep who saved the people from this famine. Okay, uh, and that is very similar to the biblical story of Joseph being the right hand man to the Pharaoh and saving the people from 7 years of famine. Okay, but when you think about the time that this was composed, this was after the biblical story had been written, and this was on in Elephantine Island, and there was a Jewish temple there as well around the same time. So it very well could
That's
be that the
crazy.
Bible influenced the famine stealer rather than that Imhotep is Joseph. Okay, but some people were probably equating Imhotep with Joseph at that time.
How interesting. How interesting. So the Bible actually influenced
Khnum is the god. Khnum is the god
Canoe.
that's mentioned who saved the people. But yeah, isn't that
Super
interesting?
interesting.
Yeah.
That is that. I love these like echoes of things that happen throughout
Hmm.
history. You know, one area will influence another area, and then it'll influence back almost, and you sort of bounce ideas bouncing back and forth. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, anything where there's sort of like Semitic people ending up in Egypt, I'm always like, oh, that's kind of biblical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Hyksos and things like that. I'm always like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That could be, the Moses and all that being Exodus and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun stuff. Fun stuff. I think, to be honest, that's Imhotep, guys. Really
All right.
interesting. Everyone's probably heard of Imhotep already, but it's. Oh, that was what I was gonna say. Imhotep. It's interesting to me because he's giving a face to all these faceless individuals throughout history who created all these other monuments in other places. You know, all over the world. Most monument makers get forgotten, and they dedicate it to a king, and then the person who actually builds the thing is just lost to history. With Imhotep, we actually potentially get the person who made the thing happen. So we don't know anyone who made any of the pyramids in any of the Maya cities, for example. We only
Yeah.
have the kings. We don't know anyone who made just most things throughout history. Really, we just have
Yeah.
the name of the ruler.
Yeah.
So yeah, Imhotep.
Love it. Well, my first character here is a fellow from Mesopotamia, and
Let's go.
his name is Sholgi. And maybe you have heard of him, maybe not. But Sholgi was from the third dynasty of Ur. And you might say, what's the third dynasty of Ur? Sometimes we just say Ur 3 with a Roman numeral 3. It's a dynasty, very important empire, really, but it was between two more famous ones, and those two got all the attention. So, for example, we have the great Akkadian Empire of Sargon of Akkad, right? That came first. Then we have the old Babylonian Empire of Hammurabi. But right between them was the third dynasty of Ur, it's called. And the greatest king of this dynasty was Shulgi. Yeah. His father was the founder. His father's named Urnamu. He was the founder of the dynasty, but it was really Shulgi who made it great. And we have a decent amount of information about Shulgi. For example, we know he reigned about 48 years. By the way, if you're wondering what the time is, now, of course, you
Such
have to
a
remember this far
such a long
back. The
time.
years are kind of fluid here, it's flexible. But tentatively, we've got him dated from about 2094 to 2046, according to, I think that's the middle chronology, uh, BCE. So this is 4,000 years ago. All right. Very old. And what is he known for? Why is he great? Well, we have a number of things that he left behind. Probably the most famous is the one that you have currently on the screen.
I had to throw this up, yeah, because
Okay.
was this Shulgi's reign,
Yes.
or
Now,
yeah?
his father started it. So sometimes it's
Okay,
called the
yeah.
Ziggurat of Urnamu. That's the name of his father. But to
Mm.
be fair, his father just began building this ziggurat, and it was Shulgi who finished the ziggurat. And
And
we're only
nearly
looking at
50
the first
years.
level.
That
Yeah.
is such a long time. That is such a long time to rule in the ancient world. Nearly 50 years. I mean, most
Yeah.
rulers did. If you did 10 years, you were lucky.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And yeah, if you're looking at the ziggurat there, which very famous. I think we got a lot of photos from the troops in Iraq. But the that's just the first level. It went up several different tiers beyond
some
that.
troops in there, yeah.
Yeah. And the ziggurat, as you may know, was basically a platform for a temple. There would have been a temple up at the top.
Yeah,
In every major city, they had a ziggurat, but this is one of the big ones. The city of Ur was one of the most important cities of Mesopotamia at the time. But another interesting thing about Shulgi is he wrote things which we have. We have some things that he wrote. And I want to mention too, in Mesopotamia, unlike Egypt, it was less common for a king to claim divinity, but Shulgi was one of them. Okay,
oh, he
so
had to go.
yeah, Naram Sin from the Akkadian Empire, he had done so.
Yep,
And I can't think of any others before.
there's not
And
many.
then Shulgi
Yeah,
also, he uses this little symbol for divinity before his name. So he claimed to be a deity, which means that people would have worshipped him while he was alive. So it tells you about his importance anyway, or at least about his arrogance.
yeah, yeah,
um, yeah, but anyway, beyond the ziggurat, beyond the claim to divinity and all of this, there were things that he did that altered the course of Mesopotamian history. He modernized Mesopotamia. When I say modernized, I don't mean from our point of view. I mean from their point of view. He modernized, which involved like improving the communication systems, like how information could travel from one end of the empire to the other. He reorganized the army, the weights and measurement system, the writing system, the tax system. All of this was reorganized. The whole bureaucracy, and there is a law code that came from him. It's not named after him. It's named after his father, the Code of Ur-Nammu, but it was by Shulgi. I shouldn't say he. We don't know if he wrote the law code, but it came out during his reign.
mm.
Okay, and it's presented as coming from his father. He liked to honor his father, so he honored his father quite a bit. And the Code of Ur-Nammu, I don't think we have the whole thing, but we have a good portion of it. And we used to have Hammurabi. Hammurabi's code was the oldest law code of Mesopotamia, but no more. Now it's the Code of Ur-Nammu, which is Shulgi's law code. And yeah, in my classes, I have students read parts of it because our law codes are great ways for people to understand sort of the morality, the
Yes,
ethics of the
mm.
time and that place, what people thought was right and what they thought was wrong, and if you look at like the punishments for crimes, what do they think is worse, and what do they think is not so bad. The interesting thing about the Code of Ur-Nammu is that it doesn't have penalties like we would think. It doesn't have like corporal punishment and prison and things like that. All of the crimes have to be paid. There has to be a fee paid in order for you to atone for it. I guess it means there was no real prison system you could go into, so you
Yeah,
could kill somebody or maim them or whatever. But they felt it was a good idea to just pay some money. Okay, well, actually, it wouldn't be money because they don't have coinage, but it would be wealth, goods of some kind to the equivalent of. They do it by. I think they do it by shekels. I actually have a translation of it here.
it's a good point you make there because there's no prison system, is there? So you
Yeah,
can't just
right.
lock someone up and you know you've got to
Exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
Let's see. Do I have it?
It's one argument for draconian punishment, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. Let me read you a couple examples if you have time here.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Now, some of them, yes, they do have corporal punishment. If a man commits a homicide, they shall kill that man. That's on
Yeah.
here. Okay. Um, but then they have a lot of them that are more like this. If a man violates the rights of another and deflowers the virgin wife of a young man, oh, that's one that they get killed for. Sorry.
That's another one. That's another kill.
Oh, by the way, I should mention this. A lot of people don't know this, but in ancient Mesopotamia, actually in the ancient world in general, um, if you sleep with another man's wife or even their fiance, you die.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like a capital punishment crime. Okay, however, the other way around, no. So like adultery, basically back then was described as adultery is a man sleeping with another man's woman. That's
Yeah.
adultery. now we have this egalitarian way, right, of thinking about it. But the fact of the matter is, if a married man slept with a single woman, that's not a capital crime. It's a crime, but it's not a capital crime. You don't die for it. But if you sleep with a married woman, you die. Okay.
Yeah.
uh, but anyway, let
Um,
me talk about most of these are about shekels. Okay, so for example, if a man acts in violation of the rights of another and deflowers the virgin slave woman of a man, he shall weigh and deliver 5 shekels of silver.
okay.
Okay. Um,
Seems fair.
yeah. Yeah. Um, but then there are some other ones. Well, they have kind of an early version of eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, like, but it's not actually the tooth for a tooth. It's if a man knocks out another man's tooth, he shall weigh and deliver 2 shekels of silver. So,
Not his own
so
tooth,
it's not a tooth
but
for a
yeah,
tooth. You
yeah.
pay, but it does change in Hammurabi. Okay, in Hammurabi they have the tooth for a tooth.
Tooth for tooth, eye for an eye. And yeah, I suppose if you can't pay, you end up in bondage, labouring in the fields of that person,
Yeah,
I
you can
guess.
enter into slavery by,
Yeah,
if you by, as a penalty for a crime or something like that.
which really is the prison system of the day. It's slavery, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
you'd be made to work in their fields.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I have an image of Shulgi. Do you have it up there? Have it there handy?
I was going to ask if we have any images of Shulgi. Is it bottom left?
I
Is it
can't
this one?
see. Oh, that's that. Yeah, that's him. That's
Yep.
him.
Okay.
So
Oh,
that is what we
he's
call a
got the bald head.
foundation peg.
That's
Uh,
the classic sort of Sumerian bald head.
yeah, yeah. Now it's not an official statue of him or anything like that. We do have a few other portraits of him, like on cylinder seals. No great statues of him though. But this is a foundation peg. Basically, what the foundation nail is you put it into a building as evidence of divine blessing or something like that. And a lot of them have inscriptions or sculptures, but this one is a Shulgi foundation peg, and it's got an image of Shulgi on it. So it's kind of nondescript, you know. It could be anybody, but but there he is, Shulgi.
It's
Yeah.
interesting though, isn't it? Yeah, because it looks very different to the depictions that you see of the Akkadian kings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's much more simple.
Yeah.
They almost look a bit Buddhist to me. Just the
Oh
Sumerian kings because
yeah.
they've got the bald heads. It's like the purification sort of thing going on. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I have another image there of a cuneiform text. Do you see that? It should be
Is it the smashed one?
it's labeled Shulgi. No, not that one.
No, it's not that one.
It's called Shulgi 3 maybe? Yeah, there it is.
This one.
Okay. That's called it's called Shulgi D, but it we usually call it the self-praise of Shulgi. And it's
Nice.
all about how great Shulgi is, okay?
Of course.
But this is where we learn a lot about his reforms and things like that. All the good things that he did is listed in this. Um, there's boasts in there about him being like a sort of a long distance running champion. Yeah.
Love
um,
that.
he claims I think it's in here. It's in one of his might be in a royal hymn to him. I can't remember if it's this text or another text, but it says that he ran from Nippur to Ur, which is about 100 miles. Um, and this was like one of his claims to fame of running this track, from Nippur to Ur.
It's
Yeah,
giving me sort of North Korean dictator vibes. It's giving me like
maybe. Yeah,
Kim
but did
Jong
he
Il
really do it?
saying he's the
Yeah,
greatest natural golfer that humanity's ever seen, sort of
yeah.
thing.
He wrote 26 different hymns, some of which have
Nice.
survived. And in one, he claims that he was bilingual. He spoke not only, well, actually, trilingual. I'm sure he spoke Akkadian, Sumerian, and Elamite, I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So,
that's that's impressive. That's impressive.
yeah. So really cool. And then we have also, we have dated years from his time. In those days, they didn't use numbers for years. They used they'll like say this year this happened and this year that happened. So they'll name a year after an event, and then we've got some lists on some tablets of things that happened during the years of his reign, like cities that he conquered and destroyed, and other things that happened. Temples that would be put up. We have some chronology here, which is really cool. From this far back, that's difficult to find. So it's great to have something from Shulgi on that.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in terms of documentary evidence as well. There's lots of cuneiform records from that time. I
Mm-hmm.
seem to remember that there's various things going on down the Persian Gulf towards like Dilmun and
Mm-hmm.
beyond into the Indus Valley
Yeah. Yeah, I
in
believe
that
there was
time
even
period.
mention in some of his contemporary records of Meluha, which is their
Mm,
word for the Harappan civilization.
that's
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, big interconnected world.
yeah. Anyway, that's Shulgi. I wanted to share him with you.
I like Shulgi. I like Shulgi. Yeah, nearly 50 years in power. It's it's that's impressive. It's an
Yeah.
impressive time. What happens after Shulgi? I mean,
Well,
are there more monarchs of that empire?
oh yes, yes, but they gradually diminish in
Gradually
quality.
diminish. Mm.
Yeah, as you
That
might
often
guess.
seems to happen after you have a really long-lived ruler. It seems to me,
Hmm.
someone rules for 50, 60 years. Nobody
Yeah,
can
and
quite
then
compete
people can't match
afterwards.
them. Yeah, it's
That's right. Yeah,
interesting.
because you
Yeah.
get that in Egypt in the Old Kingdom with Pepi.
Hmm.
Nobody can really match Pepi after he's been in power for a
Yeah.
ludicrous amount of time.
Yeah. I guess you can
All
say
right.
that happened with the Ramses. Uh,
Yeah. You could say Ramses the second. Yeah,
mhm.
he's in power for a long time, and sort of like a lot of his sons had died, so it's kind of only his
Yeah.
grandsons left, which has
Yeah.
its issues, and there are many different individuals competing for the throne at that point.
Hmm.
So we're going to backtrack a little bit, not too far. We're going to speak of the daughter of Sargon of Akkad. So we've just
Oh,
spoken
okay.
about
Yeah.
Sargon of Akkad, this great conquering ruler, uh, made the in brackets first empire in history. So
Hmm.
it's this huge state that was conquered, centering on Mesopotamia, but also stretching outwards from there into Syria and places like this. So, what do you do to control this empire that you've just established? Well, Sargon of Akkad, what he starts doing is he starts putting his family in influential positions throughout the realm. And one family member who we know today is Enheduanna, his daughter.
Yeah.
And here she is. Oh, if I can, 1 second. Here is Enheduanna. And she's a really interesting figure, and it's mostly in history we talk of these great kings. I mean, it's a very male dominated place. So it's quite rare to come across an influential lady
Hmm.
like this in this time period. And one of the reasons we know of her existence is because in the early 20th century, Sir Leonard Woolley did excavations at none other than which we were just discussing. He dug there in the 1920s, and one of the many incredible things he found was this, I believe it's alabaster disc,
Yeah.
which portrays Enheduanna. And she had lived a few hundred years before, a couple of hundred years before Shulgi's day.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so she was, what are her dates? Her dates are 23rd century BCE, so a little bit before Shulgi.
Hmm.
But yeah, the reason why she is super interesting is because, like Shulgi, she was writing her own texts. So she was a scribe, and she came up with all sorts of just fascinating things that we can still read today. And she's kind of making these devotional hymns to all the different Sumerian gods. And the idea is she was basically put in charge of kind of like merging to a certain extent the Akkadian spiritual worldview with the Sumerian one, and sort of like forging this new unified state of Akkadians and Sumerians being together. Um,
Hmm.
and she became really influential lady. She was the priestess of the moon goddess Inanna, and after she died, the position becomes hereditary. So it's like this very much remaining within the family, within Sargon's family, this religious sort of rule in the
Hmm.
state, this religious authority. Um, Yeah, and one of the interesting things about Enheduanna is that she writes in the first person, which is really rare. So there's this idea that there's like a nice buzzword titled. You could make a video on this, David. You could call it the first author in history, or like
Yeah.
because that's kind of what she gets
And
claimed
is the
as.
first autobiographical account? I mean,
That's
right? She's
yeah,
talking about
it's
herself
it exactly.
personally, like even
That's
about
the kind of thing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. And I mean, the only issue with it is that as far as I'm aware, the texts that we have are from, God, when are they from? I think they're from the old Babylonian period. So it's a few hundred years later. So we don't have the actual contemporary texts. We have the
Oh,
texts
you
that are
copy.
a few hundred years after. So there is a little bit of sort of back and forth that historians have done on discussing whether she really is the first autobiographical account, because it's not quite contemporary. But it might be splitting hairs, because they may well have just reproduced them
Mhm.
exactly as they had been in this time before. Because she's certainly revered, like Sargon, as being this great person, really. And people, as you know, were obsessed with the Akkadians after the Akkadian Empire. The
Oh yeah.
Akkadian writing system remains this sort of like lingua franca throughout this
Yeah.
vast area,
And
and
wasn't as far
Sargon
as
is,
religion is
revered
concerned,
as
didn't
the greatest king.
yeah, didn't she try to unify the people religiously or something like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, Sargon did the conquering, but then she's one of the individuals who did the actual, what comes after the conquest. We've got to, we've got to actually work this into a working system that everybody, can get by. And she's one of
But
the
she
people
had
who did that.
enemies.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone has enemies. Everyone has enemies. Um, and what else have I got to say? That's
Yeah.
one of the nice
I-
Sumerian
In her
gods
yeah,
here.
in her little story about herself, uh it's open interpretation, but it sounds like there were other priests that after her father died, other
Yep.
priests tried to oust her from power and maybe apparently succeeded, and she's
Mm.
complaining about it, right? Because she was very powerful as far as the religions, the temples are concerned and all that, but then they somehow got rid of her.
I, to be honest, David, you probably know more about Enheduanna than I do. Um, please tell us more.
Well, that's kind of all I can tell you. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
In the story, she talks about these priests that, behind her back were working against her, and they were able to get her out of power so that they could be in power. But
Mm.
it's unclear whether she was able to come back or not, or if she ended up in another temple somewhere else and was able to establish herself there. But her high position she did lose as a result of some office politics.
It may have even been people in her own family who were trying to oust her, because I mean that's what happened to the children of
Well,
Sargon.
she outlived her father by quite a bit, so I don't know. It could be. It sounded like upstarts that didn't like her,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I only say that because it's who is it? So there's Manish Tushu and Rimush who come after Sargon. One of them kills the other one. Is the
Hmm.
idea? So there's definitely court
Yeah.
backstabbing going on. There's squabbling in the Akkadian Empire for sure.
Yeah.
It's all a bit medieval to me. It all seems like they're sort of just, it's kind of like the medieval world. They're
Yeah.
all backstabbing each
Be a
other.
good movie.
Yeah. Oh, it really would.
There's room for dramatic license because we don't have a
Oh,
ton of information. But
100%, 100%. I'd love to see a movie. It's set in that exact period, the
yeah.
Akkadian Empire. That would be amazing. Yeah. I mean, we've got. I mentioned the Mummy earlier. There's The Rock is in a film called The Scorpion King.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever see that one? I think he becomes a
That's
scorpion
not
in it.
very historical
It's
at
not
all.
very historic, but I think he's supposed to be an Akkadian, which is quite funny.
Oh yeah. You ever notice though they keep making the same ancient history movies over,
They do.
let's do the Odyssey again, let's
I
do
know.
Alexander the Great again, let's do King David again. They do a lot of the same ones over and over, but there's so many
Yep.
other stories you could
I
do.
know.
There's
I
not
know.
not even a Gilgamesh movie yet.
I know. It's crazy. It's one of the greatest stories ever told.
Yeah.
It would be done so well. I mean, what we need is a 10-part HBO Gilgamesh,
Yeah.
historically accurate.
Yes.
Um, maybe not even with mythological
Well,
things.
well,
Maybe they
historically,
tell the real
the story
story.
is not historically accurate, but
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. But they could do a version where it's historical realism, and
oh,
it
I
just
see. Like
shows.
what the foundation of the story was, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Enkidu is just a big hairy man from the
Yeah,
wilds, as opposed to a
yeah.
monstrous creature. But yeah, yeah. We can dream. We can dream.
All right, so time for my next one.
Yeah, let's go. Who we got
We're
next?
going to talk about a king of the Hittites, Shupiluliuma the first.
Amazing.
Uh,
I think is this him?
well, that's yeah. We have no images of him as far as I can tell.
No,
So
this
I
is
just have
him.
that.
This
Yes,
is what he looked like.
but
Yeah,
yeah, he was now the Hittite people had two empires. They had the old Hittite kingdom and the new kingdom. That we're talking about the new kingdom here, which is its greatest kingdom. Okay, I guess you can say it's similar to Egypt in the sense that the new kingdom is the empire period.
yeah,
And so he's best known as the person who brought the boundaries of the Hittite Empire to its greatest extent. Okay, so he controlled the greatest amount of territory of all Hittite rulers, and he's responsible for conquering all of this. And the biggest conquest here was the neighboring kingdom of Mitanni. So a lot of people haven't heard of Mitanni, but Mitanni was a very powerful kingdom. It was there were three main rivals. We're in the 1400s here BCE before him. And you have Egypt, you have Mitanni, and you have the Hittite Empire, all vying for power. But when you get to Shupila-Liuma, he reigned approximately from 1350 to 1322 BCE. He was able to conquer Mitanni, or I should say the western half of Mitanni. The Assyrians conquered the other half. And Mitanni will be gone by the end of the 1300s. But yeah, he conquered that and brought the borders of the Hittite Empire up to where Egypt was. I actually gave you a map, which will show you his empire. But yeah, that's the situation just before. The one I gave you is the one after his conquests. Do you see it there?
got it.
There we go. So there you can see the Hittite Empire at its greatest extent. Um, and yeah, so he we know a lot about his reign because this is the period where a lot of the Amarna letters come from. You've probably heard of the Amarna letters. These are
Mm.
Egyptian letters, records from the time of Akhenaten. Akhenaten also reigned around this time, and as a matter of fact, they were contemporary for a little while. And we have letters between them. We also have Hittite records from this period that fill in gaps as well. So we know a lot about him and his family. We know about his wife. Her name was Khenti. We know about his heir, Arnuwanda the second. Okay, we know about other members of his family as well. So it's pretty cool that you get this. And he was on decent terms with Akhenaten. But the broken text that you showed a minute ago, that's a very important text from his time. It's called the Deeds of Shupila-Liuma, and it's all about his conquests and things like that. So that's how we know about the great things that he did. Of course, you have to take it with a grain of salt because they like to exaggerate king's accomplishments, but it's a historical record.
Of
Yeah.
course. But we also have things that corroborate what was going on from elsewhere, which
Yes,
is useful. That is useful.
that's right. Yeah. By the way, his attack on Mitanni, I think it was 1 year. It just took him 1 year, and he was able to gain victory over them. So sometimes it's called the 1 year war. So that's pretty interesting.
The
But
Mitanni was a huge state as well.
it was,
It's
it was.
vast, sprawling empire. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big accomplishment. But, I mean, did he do it in conjunction with the Assyrians? Was it an alliance to bring down the Mitanni?
I think the Assyrians just took advantage of the situation. I
Right.
don't know if there was any. I mean, there could have been, but I don't think we have any
Yeah.
record of it.
Yeah.
Now, the most interesting thing that happened during his reign is actually more about Egypt than it is about him, but that's about both. It's called the Zananza affair. But when Akhenaten died, okay, as you may know, he was succeeded maybe by another son, but very quickly, Tutankhamun is going to be the king, right? King Tut. And King Tut married Ankhesenamun, who was his sister. She had been married probably to her father and to King Tut's brother before that. Okay, but so they're keeping it in the family. But now King Tut is married to his sister. Okay, they never had any. Well, they did have a couple of stillbirths, which were in King Tut's tomb, but they didn't have any surviving children. However, we have a document from his reign, Shupiluluma's reign, in which a woman from the Egyptian royal court sends him a message. And it's usually thought to be Ankhesenamun, but we'll talk about that in a second. But here's what it says. Okay. My husband has died, and I have no son. They say about you that you have many sons. You might give me one of your sons to become my husband. I would not wish to take one of my subjects as a husband. I am afraid. There's other things in there too, but that's the main gist of it. So we have, now this is unheard of, okay? If it is Ankhesenamun. Now, let me just tell you about another theory that came out recently, and that is that it's Nefertiti.
Right.
All right. Because if our chronology here, we're not exactly sure of the chronology, okay? Is it too early for it to be Ankhesenamun? Could it be earlier, like right after Akhenaten dies, and it's Nefertiti that's proposing this marriage? Because the reason why we don't know is because the name given of the woman does not exactly match up with anyone we know in Egypt, okay? So where does this name come from? It could be an alternate name of one of these women. But the two most obvious candidates are Nefertiti or Ankhesenamun. It had been believed to be Ankhesenamun for a long time, but only recently they have a new theory that maybe it's Nefertiti. But anyway, what happened? Well, it mentions in this in a text where Shupiluluma talks about it that he was excited about this. He thought it was the greatest thing. He's quoted as saying, "Nothing like this has happened to me in my entire life. Go and bring the true word back to me. Maybe they are deceiving me." He wanted to
Yeah.
that she is.
It sounds like deception, but
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
because you know what it means? It would mean
Come and have my
that
kingdom.
Shupiluluma's son would inherit the throne of Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big deal. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So he was he checked into it. He consulted with his counsel. He says he's going to do it. Okay. Now, what happened? Apparently, he sent an entourage of with his son and a bunch of retainers to go to Egypt to marry this woman. And the caravan was intercepted by the general Ai, the Egyptian general Ai, and they killed the son.
Yeah. It sounds about right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Somehow,
Hittites were sort of pulled into the sort of the den of snakes.
yeah,
And,
somehow the Egyptians talked
yeah.
Shupiluluma out of attacking them. I don't know how they did it. But
Yeah.
there wasn't a war.
But I like that story, but I always think how many he must have had sons to spare.
Yeah, he did. He did
Superior.
have other sons.
But yeah, it's not, it would be annoying to lose a son, but it's like, how many sons has he got? He's probably got
Yeah.
loads.
Yeah. I expect that the Egyptians were like, this was not sanctioned by the government. This was she went rogue. Okay, this is
100%.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
But killing
Ai
the
becomes-
son, why couldn't they just send him back? I don't know. Maybe they got into a fight or who
Yeah.
knows.
But Ai becomes Pharaoh, right? Is he one of the guys who becomes
Well, yeah, if he
Pharaoh
married
very
her,
quickly?
yeah, it was either Nefertiti or Ankhesenamun, he would have become the king. I think.
But the general, the Ai, he becomes Pharaoh after.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he becomes the next king. So
Yeah.
selfish reasons.
Because he's not going to let the Hittite upstart live, is he?
Yeah. So it's quite an interesting story. There's a lot more ins and outs to it, but that's the general gist of it.
And this is pre-Kadesh, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Like
Before Kadesh.
one or
So
two
they end, yeah, the
generations
Hittites
before.
and Egyptians end up having it out, but
They do end up having it out eventually.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
And it's inconclusive still.
yeah. So pretty interesting political events in this period.
Really interesting, really interesting. And the Amarna letters are absolutely astounding. It's really just this wealth of information where
Hmm. Yeah.
most periods of the ancient past we don't know anything.
Well, who do you have next?
Who have I got next? We're going to skip forward a bit. We're doing a fair bit of skipping here, but
Hmm.
we're ambitiously trying to tell all of history. So we'll jump forward. I think we're skipping through the Bronze Age into the Iron Age, and we're going out into the Central Asian steppe,
Oh
and we're
yeah.
going to go and we'll have a look at the Scythians. So I've chosen a character from Herodotus. So, as we know, Herodotus is known as the father of history. He's also known as the father of lies, which I think is a little bit unfair. I do
Yeah.
quite like Herodotus. I think that, to be
He's not
honest,
bad. I mean, yeah, he'll repeat stories even if
he
he's
repeats
not sure they're
stories,
true,
yeah. But
but he
generally,
does
he
try.
says, a bloke down the pub told me this story. Now I'm
Yeah.
going to tell it to you. It's like it's not like he's saying it's authoritative and true necessarily, but he's heard these stories and he relates them to us. One of the stories that he's heard is about this Scythian queen called Tomiris or Tomiris. I'm probably butchering the name. And she's a queen of the Scythian people called the Massagatæ, who live kind of on the steppes to the north of the Black Sea. So
Hmm.
they're a Scythian nomadic confederation. And in the 6th century BC, they come into contact with the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. So Cyrus the Great, he's this great founding king of the Persian Achaemenid dynasty. It's
Yeah.
the most famous Persian dynasty of all, I would say. It's the one that later would fight against the Greeks at Thermopylae.
Hmm.
But before all that, Cyrus is the guy who founds the state, and it's the 6th century BC. The actual date, God, what was the date? Anyway, it's the 6th century BC. I haven't written the date down, but it's at the end of his reign. Basically, he's already conquered much of the known world. He's conquered Mesopotamia. He's conquered Babylon. He's taken over much of Anatolia, and he's defeated Croesus, the
Yeah.
king of Lydia, who's in
Maybe like in the
Anatolia.
530s.
I think it's around about 530s. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. It's one or two generations before Thermopylae. He goes north. He goes into Central Asia. He does what, to be honest, you shouldn't really do. It's like
Hmm.
you never try and conquer Russia. You don't try. If you go
Yeah.
into the
Right.
Central Asian steppe, you tend to have a bad time. It happens later to. There's a load of Sasanians who end up going into the steppe and getting killed by white Huns and people like this, and it's going on as early as the 6th century BC. So he goes north. He goes into the Central Asian steppe with an army. He tries to conquer the Scythians. It goes well for a little bit. He defeats Tomiris' son in battle, captures the son. Some shenanigans go down. The son ends up actually killing himself.
Hmm.
So Tomiris isn't very happy. One third of her forces have been killed. Her son has been killed. But then she manages to not only defeat Cyrus in battle, but Cyrus is killed. This great all-conquering emperor, one of the greatest emperors that there's ever been, is killed by this queen. And as far as Herodotus is concerned, his head is decapitated, and he's basically just sort of like taken as a trophy. His dismembered body is taken; it's never retrieved, and the Scythians win the day.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
super interesting insight into what was going on in Central Asia. Well, not quite Central Asia, the steppe at that point, north of the Black Sea, which is this area. It's always on the fringe of the sort of Persian Greek world,
hmm
but it's never quite conquered. It's never quite subdued. It's influenced by the Greek world, but it's never quite taken over. So this is actually a much later idea of what Tomyris might have looked like. This is really just kind of nonsense because this is just like a Renaissance painting. I've got another potentially more accurate one. I mean, this is an interpretation. This is what actual Scythian graves, the bodies interred in them, look like. They're covered in these tattoos, and they're really interesting looking. They don't look anything really like the Greek world or the Persian world.
Yeah.
So this is really what Tomyris would have looked like, something like this, probably.
Doesn't Herodotus say that Cyrus killed her son, and maybe that's why she?
That's right. Yeah. Well, he's taken captive, and then he kills himself.
Oh, he kills himself.
Is what Herodotus says. Yeah. Which you think Cyrus probably didn't want that to happen. Cyrus was probably using the son as a bargaining tool, but then kills himself. As you know, the so-called barbarians of the steppe, they can't be controlled.
Yeah.
This is another nice image of Cyrus's head there being dunked in a pool of blood. So
you hear a lot about Cyrus's conquests, but you don't hear about his end very much.
No. But apparently
this is assuming Herodotus is correct, right? Because we don't have any other corroborating source. But
no, but we have a source to the contrary, because there's a guy called Ctesias, who actually has a completely different story for Cyrus's end. He has him fighting the Scythians, but a different group of Scythians, and he has a different ruler in charge of them.
Scythians,
so,
yeah.
Still Scythians. It's still the theme of him trying to go north and conquer into, to be honest, the area where the Persians originated, because the Persians did originally come down from the steppe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, by the time they went back to the steppe, they were completely different, and they were no match for those horse archers, those pesky horse archers out there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's actually a conflicting account. So this whole account of Tomyris, it might just be a traveller's tale. It might just be this sort of this hearsay. But I like to think there's some truth in it. Of course, we then have the Greek idea of the Amazons, who are these female warriors. This is a depiction of an Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes you think maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe there was some truth to the Amazons and these female fighters.
Mm-hmm.
I think we don't actually know if Tomyris was fighting herself, but who knows? It's interesting to think. And today, actually, she's been made into this national figure in Kazakhstan, of all places. So she is this sort of like Boudica of Kazakhstan. She's this sort of like national icon there. Which I think is really, really interesting. Yeah, and she's on currency. She's on banknotes in Kazakhstan. So yeah, Tomyris.
Cool. Well,
and
speaking of women,
just before we go, here we are. This is an interesting thing, because this is, I think, quite an accurate version of what Scythians may have looked like. So interesting hat we've got going on there. Yeah. So this might be sort of the kind of thing that she was looking like. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I want to tell you about a historian whose name was Pamphile, or Pamphila, either way, from the 1st century CE or AD. And she wrote in Greek a couple of historical commentaries, which we call the historical commentaries.
Do we have images or...
What's that?
Do we have any images for her?
No images.
I'm going to leave Tomyris on screen.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no images of Shupililiuma or her. But she wrote these historical commentaries, 33 books. Now, of course, ancient books are much shorter than our books. And we have some quotations of it from Diogenes Laertius and a guy named Gellius, but not much. Okay. So they're no longer in existence, which is terrible. I would love to have them, I think she's our earliest known. Well, she's kind of almost contemporary with this Ban Zhao, who was a Chinese woman historian. But these two are our earliest known female historians. Pamphila is one of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's this lady's name?
The Chinese one or
The Greek
the real one? Pamphile,
Pamphila.
Pamphile of Epidaurus.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now she could be from Epidaurus, and she could be from Egypt because we have two different sources that tell us um, different things. There's a Byzantine encyclopedia that says she's from Epidaurus, and then
Hmm.
there's another guy named Photius who says she's from Egypt. So who knows? Um, some people think that they could somehow both be true. Maybe she moved or something like that, but it's hard to know. Um, Now, according to the Suda, which is this Byzantine encyclopedia. Now, this is from the 10th century. Okay, so this is 900 years later. You have to take it with a grain of salt. How true is it? But it says, okay, that she had lived with her husband for a long time. She was while she was with him, she took good care of him, but she also was writing her book. So she wrote this stuff down um, as her husband would talk to people. So when they'd have people over or her husband would go out, she would follow him around, and he would have conversations about history with people, and she would write these notes down, and they became the basis of her book. So yeah. Um, Now, who was her husband? There's contradiction about that. What the Suda, the Byzantine source, says that it was the grammarian Soterid, how do you say it? Soteridas
Hmm.
of Epidaurus. So that's possible. Okay. Um, but other people say that that's her father. so so is it
Yeah.
her father or her husband? Hard to know. Yeah. Um, Now she wrote other things besides the history. Okay, um, there's another work called. Now we don't know if it's by her, but some people think it's by her, and it's called "The Treatise on Women Famous in War." It's written in Greek, and it talked about 14 famous women from history, um, from that waged war. This book, as I understand it, still exists. Yeah, yeah, and it's anonymous, so it doesn't say on it who wrote it, but people think that she may be the author of it. And if that's the case, then we do have a surviving work from Pamphila. Yeah, treatise on women famous in war. We also know she wrote another work, 3 volumes, which was an epitome of a work called the Persica. An epitome means a summarization, a summary of another person's work. The Persica was written by a guy named Ctesias, who was from the 5th century BCE. So this would be several hundred years before her time, like 500 years before her time. The Persica, about the Persians. Yeah. And she summarized it. This has not survived either, but we know that she wrote this summary. Yeah, so she wrote a lot of things. An interesting person. Yeah. Apparently, from what all the writers about her tell us, that the work is pretty good. You know, that she's a pretty good historian. Um, yeah, so I thought that she would be an interesting person to bring up.
I really like this, yeah, because I haven't heard of her. That's really cool. I'm going to be reading more about Pamphile. That's awesome. I I agree with you. I think it's very sad when you hear about someone and then almost all their works have gone.
Oh, to tie it to what you just said, the
Hmm.
14 women that she wrote about in this work that has survived, guess who one of them is?
Oh, Tamiris.
Yes.
Yeah, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah. And that work
Interesting.
survives. Oh, wait a
And
minute. Oh, but it must be based on Herodotus, right? So
yeah,
what
well, she must have
wouldn't she
based
be
it on
another
Herodotus.
source
You would have
for
thought, yeah.
but
Unless unless there were other sources
maybe she
describing
yeah,
Tamiris that have been lost
yeah,
since.
yeah,
That's the thing, isn't it?
yeah. Now, of course, Herodotus is closer in time to when Thamyris would have lived, but you never know. Yeah, I
You
have
never
not
know.
read this work, so now I'm
Yeah,
interested in
you
reading
never
it.
know. You never know. You think what was in the Great Library of Alexandria, all these
Hmm.
texts that we have a name for them, but we don't have the actual book. And you got to think, yeah, what was? Oh, what there's Carl Sagan talks about it in Cosmos. Is it Bessus? He wrote. it was a guy who wrote this epic history of the entire world, and we just have the titles of it, and we don't know what was in it at all. And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
oh, if only, if only.
Yeah. If only.
Yeah.
All right. Who do you have?
Well, I've got another one where we've got the name, we've got the story of the person's life, but we don't have the book, unfortunately. I've gone for Pythias of
Oh yeah.
Massalia. Um, Super interesting person. Pythias gives us, well, the people who describe Pythias's work give us the first description of the North, basically, the first
Hmm.
description of outside of the Pillars of Hercules. So
Yeah.
this is the potential route of Pythias of Massalia's journey out into the Atlantic, up the coast of what is now Spain, across France, and into the Cassiterides, the Tin Islands, as
Hmm.
they are called by Diodorus Siculus later, who probably based his work on Pythias's work before.
Yeah.
And what this is basically, it's the 4th century BC. Pythias was writing a periplus, basically, which is a sort of a journal. It's like a seafarer's journal where they
Hmm.
record what is there
Hmm.
for other seafarers, basically. So he's this sea captain, and he's making this journey. And what we think is he later turned his periplus into a proper book called On the Ocean,
Hmm.
which charted his extraordinary journey that he went on.
There's
And
quite a few people that have quoted from it, as I understand it. Ancient writers that quote from it.
absolutely, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Everyone, yeah, he's quoted a lot. The actual work is gone, but much of it survives in the work of others. Like
Is it?
he's whole
Yeah.
sections are quoted in the work of others, really.
As I understand it, I think I got this right. That wasn't. Didn't he take measurements of the sun's position in various spots, and we are able to determine the latitude of where he was based on those observations.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, this is the same time as we just mentioned the Great Library of Alexandria. It's the same time as that, and yeah, there are all sorts of sort of interesting scientific experiments are going on at that time as the Greek scientists are trying to understand the world around them, really. And I just thought I'd show this is the Greek world at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and if you go over to the left hand side here, just below the Iberian Peninsula, you have the Pillars of Hercules.
Hmm.
Outside of the Pillars of Hercules was kind of unknown, really. I mean, this whole area was under the control of the Carthaginians at the time, who didn't always get on so well with the Greeks, and
Yeah.
they had their own sphere of influence out here and down the coast of Africa. So we don't actually know how Pythias managed to get through. It might be that Massalia, which is modern day Marseille in France, was on good terms with the Carthaginians, or it might be that he actually took one of the river routes up through France and went that way. But somehow he got through the Pillars of Hercules and he went north.
Hmm.
And we might think, okay, that's not that crazy of a journey. But in those days, this is going off the edge of the
Oh.
map.
Oh
And
yeah.
also, it's going off the edge of the map into the most
Major.
barbaric land of all. These are the frozen Northlands. This is beyond civilization. This is, this is the weirdest bit of the world that no one has any idea what's going on there.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's all monsters and all, you know, dragons off the edge of the map. Um, the entire classical world was oriented to the east, basically. The east was where city building had been a thing for thousands of years. The
Yeah.
north is just it's like going to the moon.
Yeah. 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 He went very far north as well. At least to the top of Britain, but maybe even further, right?
That's right. He
Yeah.
circumnavigates Britain. That is
Iceland, maybe.
that's described in the book. Then he goes to a place which he describes as Thule. So Thule, which the Romans then become quite obsessed with because the Romans then anyone who's conquering Britain
Hmm.
tries to say, I'm going to go to the ends of the earth, I'm going to conquer Thule. That's kind of like, it's like a brag, it's a boast. Like it's Caesar does it and Claudius does it, and they're all trying to say that they are going to basically go to the very edge of the earth, which is
Yeah.
Thule. And Thule might be Norway, it could be the Baltic Sea, it could be Iceland. We don't know. It's somewhere beyond
Yeah.
Britain. It
Shetland.
might be, could be Shetland. I mean, Shetland is a fair journey, you know. Could be
Yeah.
Shetland, could be the Faroe Islands.
Yeah.
There's also a strange description in his book of ice on the sea.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's thought he went as far north as kind of the edge
Another
of the
great
Arctic
movie
Circle.
idea, right?
It would be so good. It
Yeah.
would be incredible. It's not simple though, is the issue. I
Mhm.
think that's the thing. Hollywood, they only focus on things that are simple, and
Yeah.
you'd have to have a bit of understanding of the world of Pythias, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like being immersed in weird worlds that I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. But not everybody does, I suppose. It would definitely get a cult following though. A Pythias of Massalia voyage. It would be
Yeah.
amazing. And yeah, all sorts of things suddenly come into existence in the 4th century BC with Pythias's journey that
Mhm.
nobody had any idea about before. I mean, it's thought that people probably were going north and trading with Britain for quite a long time before this, but this is the first description in history of that situation, what was going on. Because he has some meetings with the locals in Britain, and the general idea is that they're trading tin with the outside world. Probably Carthaginians, and maybe before them the Phoenicians, maybe.
Yeah, and wasn't there a recent study that showed that the tin was coming from the area around Cornwall?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I've been reading about, with bated breath, because it's something that's interested me for a long time. Just how far back does this tin trade go? And it seems like it is the Phoenicians. It seems like the Phoenicians are doing it, and possibly even before them,
Yeah.
sort of proto Phoenicians.
Very
Let's
cool.
what else was I going to say? Yeah, and then unfortunately, this is a bestseller of the time. Everyone loves this book. Everyone's writing about it afterwards. They're quoting from it, and then we lose the book.
It's a shame.
The book is gone, and it's just
Yeah.
one of those sad losses, because it would be super interesting to have his first-hand account of
totally.
his
Yeah.
journeys. But no, fate would have it another way. So all of the copies are gone,
Yeah.
unless somewhere buried there's another version of it.
That would be a great find.
Here he is. This is Pythias. I believe this is in Marseille, which and it's another interesting point, because not everybody would think that there's a Greek city in France. There are Greek cities in Russia, there are Greek cities in France, there are Greek cities in Spain. All over the place, the Greeks got to. All over the place.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, and then just before we finish with Pythias or Pythias, I'm probably butchering all these names. This is the sort of ship he would have done it on. So it's just crazy to think this early point he's going like, well, it's probably the sort of ship who, I don't know. Maybe it didn't look anything like that, but that's one version of it. And this is another nice one of him in the ice.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice romantic image, that, isn't it?
That's cool.
Makes you think. If you're living quite an insular existence in Britain at that time, these guys turn up.
Yeah.
You're like, what the
Who
hell
are
is
they?
going
Yeah.
on here?
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's just interesting, and we've got to hammer home the point, really, that everything was going on in the East. The West, Britain, Scandinavia, they're quite insular places at this time. They're quite small scale societies. No cities, no vast, architecture or anything going on. Pythias
Alright.
of Massalia.
Well, my next
Where we
one
going next?
from you, we do have his book, so this is good.
Come on. Excellent. Excellent.
And we're gonna go to China for this guy, and his name is Wang Chung, not to be confused with the '80s band.
Nice.
Yes.
And do you want me to show any images here?
I don't have any images of him.
Don't
We
have-
don't have
okay.
any images of him.
No
and of
problem.
course, well, we do
No
have
problem.
images of copies of his book, but we don't have any originals or anything.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Yeah,
bother giving you one for him. But he doesn't get a lot of attention even in China. And one of the reasons is he bucked against the trends of the time.
Here
But
is Wang
he was-
Chung.
Who was he? We normally think of him as a philosopher, but he was more than just a philosopher. He was also an astronomer, a meteorologist, if you want to use an anachronism. He's a naturalist, okay? Very active writer. He lived during the Eastern Han Dynasty. This is in the first century, CE or AD, and he is basically writing things against other people's beliefs. Okay, so he's like well, his book is called the Lunheng, which means critical essays, and they are very critical. So at the time in China, it was very popular to, well, people were very superstitious, very religious. They believed all these kinds of ideas about divination and the spirit world, and they were into all of that, you know. And he writes against it all. He's very much a materialist. You know, he's saying this is all superstition. He's a rationalist. Okay, so he's ahead of his time, is what I'm trying to say. And the arguments that he uses mirror what you might find today. Like they're very secular. They're very the arguments are ones that you might recognize that people even use today. Okay, so this is one of the things that interests me, and I actually have this is a book I use for my classes. It's actually my a book that I put together, but it's got excerpts from various ancient authors, and so I got an excerpt from him.
Oh,
And
nice.
there's a interesting passage here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very long, but it's a chapter that he wrote about how ghosts are not real. Okay, so I'm just
Okay,
going to give you a
nice, nice.
little taste about how he argues. You know what his writing is like. Okay, so he'll say here, for example, the whole chapter is actually about what happens after death, but he starts out talking about ghosts. Uh, he says, the dead do not become ghosts, have no consciousness, and cannot injure others. How do we know this? We know it from other beings. Man is a being, and other creatures are likewise beings. Talking about animals. When a creature dies, it does not become a ghost. For what reason then must man alone become a ghost when he expires? In this world you can separate man from other creatures, but not on the ground that he becomes a ghost. The faculty to become a ghost cannot be a distinctive mark. If, on the other hand, there is no difference between man and other creatures, we have no reason either to suppose that man may become a ghost. So, you know, he's basically arguing, you don't nobody believes that animals have ghosts. So why do you believe that humans have ghosts, right? Then he goes, man lives by the vital fluid. He's talking about blood. When he dies, this vital fluid is exhausted. It resides in the arteries. At death, the pulse stops and the vital fluid ceases to work. Then the body decays and turns into earth and clay. By what could it become a ghost? Without ears or eyes, men have no perceptions. In this respect, the deaf and the blind resemble plants and trees. But are men whose vital fluid is gone merely as if they had no eyes or no ears? No. Their decay means complete dissolution. You know, so this is kind of stuff that he argued. He goes on and on about all the different beliefs of the time. And that's just one chapter in his essays. He goes after everybody. He goes after all the religious ideas. So you might be surprised. Well, it depends. Some people think that maybe, oh, history has always had secular people, always had atheists and things like that. Um, but they were really rare in ancient times.
Very rare. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very rare.
Normally it's a death sentence, or like, often it's
Yeah,
a death sentence.
yeah. But here he is openly being critical of all these beliefs, you know, that people had at the
And what
time.
and what was it about his situation that he was able to do that? Are we talking about quite a free thinking
Yes, he's
society at that
freezing. Now,
time?
I should mention he lived in poverty and not by choice. So nobody's buying his books, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not making any money off of this.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he doesn't. He was. I don't want to call him a loser, but he just had he did not have any success,
Yeah.
financial success anyway in life. Okay, he did study at the university, so early on he did go to the university. Um, oh, by the way, he became friends with the a guy named Bangu, okay, who was the brother, I believe he's the brother of Ban Zhao, the female historian I was telling you about earlier from China.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, so he was friends with that family. Okay, but the officials who were seeking to hire people from university, they didn't like him. for obvious reasons. Okay, everyone was really big on Confucianism at the time. He was very critical of Confucianism as well as Taoism and everything else. Okay, so he didn't get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became a local teacher, but he had a very argumentative nature, even in not
Mm.
just in writing, but just in real life. The people didn't like him. And I think he actually resigned from his position as teacher because he had gripes about something or other. Okay. So he
He
never
stuck
went
to his
anywhere.
guns, though. Yeah, yeah, he stuck to his guns. But yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose it's if he conformed, then he would have, had lived a happy life. But no one would remember him. No one would know that he existed.
Yes. Yes. But the interesting thing is, at the time he was ignored. His books were not, but they were copied by somebody. They survived. Somebody decided to copy these works
Somebody
and
thought this
keep
is
them
important.
alive.
Yeah,
Yeah. And nowadays, though, he still isn't really one of the big philosophers that everyone talks about. When everyone studies ancient China, they want to talk about the people who were in power, the Confucianists and all those people.
mm.
So he kind of gets the raw end of the deal even now. But it is kind of cool that we still have him here. And I'm not saying I agree with everything he writes, but I'm just saying he has a scientific, this is pre-science, but he has a scientific mind, generally
Absolutely,
speaking, which is kind of interesting
absolutely.
to find at that time, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting to think that we often think that the Greek philosophers in sort of, the early classical world, they're the only ones doing sort of this sort of free thinking in the ancient world. But it's not true. You get
Hmm.
Indian scholars who do this sort of thinking. You get Chinese scholars who do this sort of thinking. And I'm sure there were scholars in the Americas who were doing this sort of thing, but we just don't have any records of it. I'm
Yeah.
sure there were people like this who were thinking contrary to what was actually what was in the mainstream, let's say. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we just don't have any record of them. So it's great that this guy's record survives.
Yeah. By the way, when I say he's a meteorologist, kind of interesting because at the time, it was very popular to believe that the weather reflected um, the feelings of I don't want to say the gods, but that they were affected by spiritual and moral behavior.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
like in other words, the more well behaved the people were, and the more they were doing their duty and proper things, the better the climate and the weather was. That was the
Yeah,
belief at the time. Like you could
yeah, yeah, yeah.
affect the weather by your moral actions, and especially the rulers. Okay, so he's writing like that's a bunch of malarkey. Okay, he was studying how like why things happen, like why does water evaporate, why does it rain, all of this stuff. He's taking from a scientific point of view and arguing against the prevailing beliefs of the time about how weather can be affected by people's actions. Yeah, very interesting.
Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. David, I haven't heard of this guy either.
Oh, it's okay.
So thank you
I
for
deliberately
enlightening me.
chose people that are kind of
Yeah,
obscure. Yeah.
thank you for enlightening me. Yeah, I visited China. God, going on 2 years ago now, which is insane. So the year before last, I visited China and had an absolutely incredible time. And it's definitely one of the best places in the world for archaeology and history. So
You said it. Yeah.
everybody watching, get yourselves to China. It's amazing. It's so good, and the people are so nice as well. It's so friendly and welcoming.
It
Um,
is. When I
yeah,
went, I was surprised by this.
I was. I wasn't necessarily surprised because my wife had been before a number of years ago, but it was nice. It was very nice. It's very
Mhm.
I sort of was surprised actually. Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't really expecting it to be as sort of Western as it was. It's quite. It's pretty Western, really. Everybody speaks English, or most people do.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, not to go off on a tangent, but it also struck me as being far more capitalist than I was
Yes,
expecting.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it was quite American, I guess. It was quite
Yeah,
American culture has seeped in big time.
yeah, but I mean, people like you think about a communist country, you're thinking about like like everybody's equal and they all have the same things and
Nope,
they all get the same pay but that wasn't like that at all. It was
not
very
at all.
much wheeling and dealing, buying and
Absolutely,
selling.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's always the hierarchy. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It's just the Communist Party officials at the top now. Yeah.
All right. So you have one more?
I have one more. I have one more.
I also have
And
one
mine
more.
also vaguely concerns China. We're going to be going on the Silk Road. We'll go
Okay.
on the ancient Silk Road. I'm going to discuss an ancient religion, really. We're going to talk about the initiator of the religion who gave it its name. And his name is Mani.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all heard of Jesus. We may have all heard of Zoroaster, who's another prophet from the early days. We all know the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
But who remembers Mani today? Not everybody. I mean, probably lots of this audience do. But during the 4th, 5th centuries AD, Manichaeism was one of the biggest religions in the world.
Yeah.
And for a time, until it was sort of stamped out, it was considered the first world religion, really, because it was a religion that surpassed national borders, it surpassed individual groups,
Yeah.
and it was an all-inclusive kind of worldview that anyone could join, anyone could be a part of. Mani,
I have a recollection that Augustine of Hippo, or you might say Augustine of Hippo, was actually a Manichaean for a little bit.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Augustine of Hippo was a Manichaeist before he became a Christian. He then absolutely just wrecks Manichaeism and just beats down on it because as Christian
Yeah.
apologists do when they turn, he just turned on all of his former Manichaeist friends. Um, yeah, but it's interesting because Mani himself absolutely loved Jesus. He considered Jesus an absolute guy. Like, he loved him. He also loved the Buddha
Mm-hmm.
and Zoroaster. So all these
Get
seemingly
mixed
disparate
together.
prophets kind of got mixed together with Mani. It's kind of a dualistic religion, so there's this elaborate worldview where there's the forces of good fighting against the forces of evil.
Mm-hmm.
The forces of evil is actually this basically like evil king who's ruling over the bad guys, and then you have to do good in your life to fight against that.
Mm-hmm.
It's this elaborate worldview, basically. Mani came up with it when he had a series of visions when he was 12, then a series of visions when he was 24, we think, anyway,
Yeah.
because a lot of the writings about Mani come from his enemies, basically. Anyone who was like Islam, Christianity, Judaism, they're all very anti-Manichaeism. But we do, from archaeology, get a bunch of accounts separate from that. So there's an account that was found in Egypt in the 1960s, and that basically gives quite a full account of this religion and the life of Mani. So we can reconstruct it fairly accurately now.
I thought traditionally Christians sometimes present this Manichaeism as a Christian heresy, but is there
Yes,
any evidence that he was actually ever a Christian?
he was, I believe, part of a Gnostic sect. So it's Christian adjacent. It's not quite Christian, but it's
Mm-hmm.
Christian-ish. It's just as Christian as it is Jewish. I think it's sort of like an
Yeah.
Abrahamic sect in a way.
Yes. So I just wonder how historically accurate it is to say that it was like a offshoot of Christianity. I don't.
I
It
don't think it's
influenced
an
it.
offshoot of Christianity personally. I think it's a new thing, really.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what he did was he built on the traditions of all the
Mm-hmm.
previous
Yeah.
rulers. He was almost certainly steeped in Christian theology, so he was, he would have had a mind like a sponge, and he was absorbing all these different worldviews
Mm-hmm.
and putting them all out. But the interesting thing for me is the Eastern links, because it's got a bunch of Buddhist stuff in there, a bunch of Zoroastrian in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
largely Zoroastrian, really, because it's this dualist worldview.
Yeah.
Another Christian heresy later on was Catharism, which I don't know if
Yeah.
you know anything about that. There was a crusade to stamp it out from France in the 12th century, and it's a little bit like Manichaeism, because that's
Oh.
also this dualist philosophy. So when the Christians came across this dualist thing, they hated it. They would absolutely beat down on it brutally in a big crusade. So they didn't
Uh-huh.
like it very much. But
Yeah.
back in the 3rd century AD, Mani, he's a bit like Jesus. He's kind of like a Jesus-like figure. He's going around. He's got his disciples. He gathers, I'd say, more of a following than Jesus had in his lifetime, because he sort of skips a bunch of the stages. Mani actually manages to get Shapur the First on side. Like, he gets the Persian king to not convert, but he gets him to sort of he's not against the religion. He sort of approves of it. So it spreads really quickly all throughout the Persian Empire at the time and beyond. Because that's, as we know, that's what Constantine did with Christianity. He was the guy who spread Christianity far and beyond. But yeah, Mani does this in the 3rd century AD. But then he falls out of favour, of course. The winds of political change come along. The Zoroastrian clergy don't like him very much, so they have him killed. But the religion survives, and the religion spreads far and wide, all along the Silk Road to the east, into China. But before that, you got like the Sogdians, the Uyghurs, all these people along the Silk Road, and a lot of them become, for a time, followers of Mani. So yeah, for about 400 years or something like this, Manichaeism survives as quite a strong force. Then obviously everything changes. The Arab conquests bring Islam all across the Silk Road, so that becomes quite a dominant religion across the Silk Road. Christianity also spreads, Judaism as well, actually, to a certain extent, and kind of like Manichaeism gets forgotten and left behind. And yeah, there's no I think there's barely any Manichaeists today. I had a quick look, actually. I think there are some people today who claim to be followers of Mani, but whether they really are today, I don't know.
It sounds like a revival rather than a...
It's a revival, yeah, exactly. By all intents and purposes, this religion is dead by 1000 AD, I would say, 1000 CE. But history could have gone differently. History could have gone very differently. This could be the Christianity of the world today. We could all be, or many people around the world could be Manichaeists instead of Christians today, if had history gone slightly differently.
Yeah, very good. All right, my last one.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that.
I have some images for this. Is a fellow by the name of Spear Thrower Owl. At least that's the name we give
I love Spear Thrower Owl.
Yeah, or it may have been pronounced originally Yatsom Kui or something like that. I'm not super great with the Maya word. Yeah, this is well, actually, no, it's not Maya. This is a fellow from Mesoamerica, yes. We're talking about the late 4th and early 5th centuries CE. So this is our latest in time that we're talking about here, but still in the ancient period. And who is he? Well, he is a ruler that apparently came from Teotihuacan, but he's more known for what he did outside of Teotihuacan than what he did in Teotihuacan. I think there's another theory that he may have been from an ousted group from Teotihuacan. There's a theory that there's a famous temple there, Temple of the Feathered Serpent, that got destroyed right around this time, and some people think that the people who had been in charge there got pushed out, and maybe Spear Thrower Owl was one of them. But the mainstream theory is that he was just someone who had been a ruler in Teotihuacan, and he got involved in the Maya world. And the reason why I mentioned he's important is because he changed the Maya world, or started the ball rolling in that regard. The Maya from the late 4th century, from about 378 forward, are going to be heavily influenced by Teotihuacan. Now, we'll talk more about what that means, like how much influence. But I want to show you, talk about this thing you have on screen. Okay, that is a Tikal stela number 31, and it's very fat. In fact, it's got something on the front and the back. The back has hieroglyphs on it. On the sides have more images on them. And I have another image I have of the drawing of the stela, if you want to show that. And it'll show you what's on the sides. Yeah, right there. So what you're looking at is a stela commemorating the ascension of a king in Tikal. Tikal is one of the most important Maya cities. It's now in Guatemala. And the king on the front is Siyai Chan Kawil II. Okay? But he's referring to events that occurred prior to his reign in the time of his father. All right. His father is depicted on the sides of the stela. Those images that you see there drawn on the side, that those are both of his father, uh, who was installed as ruler of Tikal. He's the founder of the dynasty by spear thrower Owl. All right. So spear thrower Owl, what I'm saying is he set up in 378, because we're given the exact dates on the stela. He set up this guy named Si Kak, okay, who is the father here, as ruler in January 378 over Tikal, and that's the dynasty that was established here. There had been a previous dynasty before that, but spear thrower Owl led troops, or did he lead the troops, or did he send somebody with troops? I can't remember now, but troops from spear thrower Owl overthrew this king and installed this new puppet king, if you want to call him that, on the throne. Yeah, which is changing the whole history of Tikal, but also apparently the whole history of the Maya people, because we find from this point forward Teotihuacan getting its grubby little fingers into Maya politics in a lot of different places. Okay, not
Yeah.
just Tikal.
Yeah.
And it may be spear thrower Owl who's responsible for all of that. Okay. There is, by the way, in Teotihuacan, there are, I should say, images of spear thrower Owl. So they were found more recently. So now we've really tied him to Teotihuacan. Okay. There's even a place in Teotihuacan called Spear Thrower Owl Hill.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, this is founded like in 2008 or something like that. Okay. So yeah, this is why there's all this talk about what his function was at Teotihuacan. We have no more information about him in Teotihuacan. Maybe if we can decipher some more of the glyphs, we'll be able to know. But what he did there is not known. We know more about what he did in the Maya world from the Maya stelas. Yeah. And see the picture of the father on both sides? He's wearing garb that is similar to what they wore in Teotihuacan. And we're going to find a lot of Maya rulers at this time are going to invoke Teotihuacan. They're going to dress in the Teotihuacan style. There is even going to be appearance of like a pottery and other goods that are in the Teotihuacan style. So the big question now is, what kind of authority did Teotihuacan have over the Maya at this time? You know, the Maya had separate city-states. But why are Maya rulers invoking Teotihuacan? Why are they mentioning the city? And by the way, they're mentioning the city. They're not mentioning people from Teotihuacan, which is strange. Maybe it's because Teotihuacan, you know, there's some debate about what kind of government they have. Did they have a single ruler in Teotihuacan, or did they probably more likely have a council or something like that? So that's why they're invoking the city name and not the name of a ruler. It's hard to know. But some scholars believe that Teotihuacan had like an actual empire and they're ruling directly over the Maya, and the Maya rulers are their vassals. And the other extreme says, no, we're just talking about cultural influence here. They had really no political control. This is kind of a one-off thing. So people say that. But the more we find over time, the more it looks like Teotihuacan had some actual political rulership over parts of the Maya world. But how much is kind of unknown. So there's a lot of controversy about this. But that puts Spear Thrower Owl kind of right in the middle of this whole thing.
It's worth just mentioning the sheer scale of Teotihuacan, I suppose, at this time, because it really is just a monster. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute metropolis. Because the Maya cities are big, but
nothing
Teotihuacan dwarfs them all. So I'm thinking, you know, that's a lot of people that live there. Surely they could field an army that would, you know, you'd have no choice but to join them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Particularly as the Maya cities were fairly divided. They were, you know, I mean, I don't think many people would run to Tikal's defense. considering that Tikal was a conquest state in itself. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's something. I went there just this past November, and wow, wow, it's a huge, magnificent city, and nothing beats it in Mesoamerica. It's the biggest, you know.
yeah,
So
absolutely. It's a shame, I think, because a lot of, even in Mexico City, a lot of people assume it's an Aztec city. They
oh
don't
yeah,
really,
yeah.
they don't
The
really
Aztecs
get the
did consider it a
context.
holy place, but no, it was there long before them.
Yeah.
Although, did you hear the dude study? There's a linguistic study that suggests that perhaps the writing at Teotihuacan is related to the Nahuatl language of the
Oh,
Aztec.
that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. But
That's
they're not, I
really,
mean,
really
obviously
interesting.
the Aztecs don't exist yet, but there may be
Mm.
some connection or relation between
Yeah,
them.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, they're Nahuatl people. Yeah, because the Aztecs were one group amongst many. Um,
Hmm.
they were the
Yeah.
most successful, but yeah,
Now there's an
yeah.
image, one last image I want to show, which may depict Spear Thrower Owl himself. I think, yeah, not that, no, not that. It's the last thing I gave you. Yeah, yeah, that one. So this is also found at Tikal, and I think it's a little unclear because of the writing is hard to read, but this is generally thought to be Spear Thrower Owl. So this is an actual image of Spear Thrower Owl himself from Teotihuacan. I'm sorry,
Do you know
from
where
Tikal.
this stele is? It looks like it's inside. Is it somewhere inside, or is it
It might be
just?
in a museum, yeah,
Ah, yeah, yeah. I
but
was
I'm
thinking
not
it looks
sure what
like it's in a
museum it's in
cave or something, or
currently.
a tomb.
Yeah. Oh, it may have been. Well, steelers are usually no. I think it would have been out on the
Usually
ground.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but
This would have been
there he
painted,
is,
right?
huh?
This would have been painted.
I think were all
What
the
do you
steelers
think?
painted? I th- I don't recall. It
Putting
may
you on
be.
the spot here.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now if all the Maya steelers are painted.
I
Um,
imagine them as being painted,
they're
but
probably
maybe some of
painted.
them weren't.
They're
But
probably painted.
yeah, much like
Yeah, because the
classical
buildings were.
statues.
Yeah, the buildings were. Yeah, I think they're probably.
Buildings were very colourful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We see this in I think some people don't know. They don't realize how colourful the ancient world was. The
I
ancient
know.
world was
Even
full of
classical
colour.
sculpture, they think, oh,
That's
that
right.
looks look like that. No, 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 painted.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
some people might say, oh, that's so gaudy. I like it better not painted. But hey, that's the way they liked it.
I mean, that's a good word for the ancient world. The ancient world was pretty gaudy. It
Yes.
was. They didn't do things by half measures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. True.
Super interesting. I was going to ask you actually the name Spear Thrower Owl. How do we come by that name today? How is it? I mean, it's a complicated thing to explain. But if you maybe
There's
you could, maybe you can't. But if you could explain sort of how we get to that from the hieroglyphic.
there's an actual image of an owl holding a spear, okay,
Yeah.
that represents him.
Yeah.
And before we could read any of these glyphs, we just kind of just describe it by what you see, right? So he was just called spear thrower owl because of it. And I think now we think that maybe it was pronounced Yatsop or something like that. So we could say that that's his name, but the spear thrower owl is kind of stuck. Maybe because we're still a little bit unsure about the exact pronunciation, and it's simply because that's what the picture is. Yeah, and we do
Yeah.
that with a number
Nice.
of Maya names as well, where we just call them after the name of the picture, and that was what we always did. That's what the scholars always did,
Yeah.
until recently when we're able to pronounce a lot of these now.
Mm. And it really is recent. I mean, it's the last 20, 30 years that some of these
Yeah,
developments are happening. Since the 80s, really, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Wow, we had a good list, don't you think?
Good list. Good list. Just to finish, we'll quickly have a look at the questions in the chat because there is a
Okay.
chat. I'm sorry, everybody in the chat. We have been just too busy. Too busy talking. Too busy talking. Let's see if there's any questions for us. Somebody said, Morning Glory says, hope there is very little on Egypt. Sorry, there was an Egypt and Roman Greece. The narratives are so redundant and boring. I mean, they Greece, Roman, and Egypt are overdone, I would say. But there's just so much there. There's so much to talk about there. I think
Yeah.
that's why they kind of get it's not like because of a preference necessarily. It's just because of where the evidence is. I think personally.
Yeah.
Are
Let's
there
see. I'm
any?
looking at the chat too.
Yeah, yeah.
Pete
If you
Kelly
see
is
any
a gift
questions,
to
feel free
us.
to.
Don't compare him to AI.
I think some people think that I am AI, but
Oh, well,
I'm an
your
older.
voice, when you just hear your voiceover, it's
Yeah,
very like it's the kind of voice that someone might choose to put in AI. It has a very,
yeah,
it has this
yeah,
quality,
yeah.
a comforting quality to it.
But seriously, guys, I'm an older model anyway, so I don't like these new models. I was created in a lab in the 90s.
Uh, yeah.
Uh, quick scan through anything else, and if anybody wants to ask any questions now, quickly, just before we end.
I see a whole
Brendan
conversation
Fraser
on
took
about
care of him in the
prophecies
end.
here.
The
Yeah.
mummy, he did. Sorry, David.
I just see a whole conversation here about prophecies. I don't. Did we start talking about prophecies and it must have gone off in that direction? I don't remember, but
Did we? I don't think. Oh, maybe with Enheduana, possibly. I don't know. Somebody says, Roy Nusser says, I would love to hear more about the Dilmun people. They're not as
oh yeah.
discussed as the Sumerians. Have you ever done anything on Dilmun?
In my classes, sometimes my ancient Mesopotamia classes, a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of information
There isn't.
about Dilmun.
It's very interesting. It's modern day Bahrain. Some people think,
Hmm.
um, but it's actually it's kind of like a mythical place in a way in the Mesopotamian texts, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody says, "How about Sinew as a TV series?" You know
Oh, you know
the
what? People are saying AI, I, when referring to the pharaoh. It's
oh,
actually
that's what they're
AY. It's
talking
actually
about.
AY. But I mentioned I before. I think that's what some people are saying. And then they got into a conversation about AI because of it.
Yes. Somebody, do you know the tale of Sinew, the ancient
Yeah.
Egyptian story?
I usually
Somebody
say
suggested
Sinuhe. Is it
Sinuhe. That's it. Yeah,
Sinuhe? Yeah.
Sinuhe.
Yeah, it's a
Somebody
Middle
suggested
Kingdom. It's a great like story.
such a good story. Such a
Yeah.
good story. Someone said they should make that into a TV show, and
Oh
I
yeah,
have
that
to
could be
agree.
a
That would be
movie
an
as well.
incredible story, or just like a historical novel. That would be excellent.
Yeah.
Somebody else says, "Is this pre-recorded?" No, we're just bad at talking to the
Yeah,
chat, and
we're
I'm
on
sorry.
right now. This
We're on
very
right
moment.
now. So if anybody wants to ask us anything, they can. Pretty much every major religious figure has miracles ascribed to them. Yep, that's true. That is very true. I think Mani had miracles ascribed to him, for sure. We won't go too into that. I don't want to start debunking religions and things like that. It would be wouldn't be very popular for that. Now, where are we? Someone says gaudy, so is India now. Yeah, it kind of is, but he loves it. Yeah, it's kind of true. But like in a certain sense, India, some of it, the aspects of India, it's like going to the classical world. It's amazing because they still the Hindu religion is kind of a classical religion if you think about it. That's survived to the modern day. So it's kind of still got that ancient feel sometimes, which I love.
One person says in Greece, owls are considered wise. In reality, owls are stupid. What what did the Aztecs think for owls? Or you should probably Teotihuacan. What did they think about owls? I actually, why did I bring this question up? Because I don't really know the answer. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't to be owls get a harsh rep actually because they have very very small brains, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're stupid. I think they're the same intelligence as most birds, but very very small brains though. That is true. Very very small brains. So they're not exactly wise. I don't think they have long memories like people used to think in the ancient world.
So if someone says I'm wise as an owl, I'll take offense. Yeah.
You should do, yeah. Well, it just means you've got a tiny little brain, and
Yes.
yeah. Well, I think to be honest, I mean that's the questions in the chat. Unless anybody
All
wants to
right.
ask anything else, do you have anything you want to add?
Well,
Anything
if you
you're
haven't
selling?
subscribed to my channel yet, or you haven't
Yeah,
gone to look,
yeah.
go to World of Antiquity. You can find all about ancient history there. I travel around the world and all kinds of stuff, so I hope you like that. And if
And
you
you've
want
got
to
all
travel
sorts of
around the world
tours.
with me, our current tour is for Italy and Sardinia. You can Google World of Antiquity Tour in Italy and Sardinia and find it. Would love to have you along, or maybe one of the future ones. Yeah.
I believe you are also an associate of. The name escapes me, but it's a conference that's happening in July that you're streaming on your channel. That I am also streaming on my
Oh,
channel.
SASA, the
That's it,
Save
SASA.
Ancient Studies
Yeah.
Alliance. Yeah.
So we're actually both
We're gonna
working
do that too.
with
Yeah.
those guys
Do
now.
that every
Yeah.
year to help support them. So
Yeah.
they're trying to
So
keep ancient history alive,
mm.
And
So
yeah,
everybody keep your eyes peeled for that as well in July, where we'll both be streaming that on our channels. And it's kind of it's a full-on academic conference, but you can attend for free. You don't have to pay any money at all. Where usually you'd have to sort of pay to enter. Yeah, anybody can turn up.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having
So, yeah.
me, Pete.
Thanks for coming on, and yeah, we'll speak again soon.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
Nice to see you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a great rest of the day.
Goodbye.